Do you get feedback as a leader?
Leaders lead and
Yeah.
leaders teach.
Yeah.
I think you get feedback every day. I think you can sense feedback.
What do you do about the one where it's like the silent feedback?
Yeah, so those are a little more difficult, and I've
Yeah.
experienced that as a leader. Like I'm
We
sure
all
the
have.
people
Yeah.
that will listen. Yeah,
Being honest all the time, even when it's bad news. And it's just, hey, nope, here's what it is. It goes back to giving that feedback. So I think those are the factors that I'll say influence the way that I lead.
Yeah.
You can sense it. You can't fake leadership, Santa.
No. Welcome to Leadership in Manufacturing podcast, where we explore essential leadership topics in the electronics component industry. I'm your host, Sanna Vinding. I'm a strategic leader with over 20 years of experience in the B2B marketing, product development, and team empowerment. I'm passionate about sharing insights, and I think you can see it and hear it. I love to share knowledge, learnings, and tools to help professionals enhance their leadership skills. In today's episode, we're exploring leadership feedback together with the following guests: Tobin, Don Akery, and Shane Zutz. And we're covering how to recognize indirect feedback, fostering open communication, and also adapting based on input. So you're going to learn strategies for encouraging honest feedback, overcome silent feedback barriers, and leading by examples. So enjoy this episode. Listen to Walter Tobin. He's the CEO, EVP, Electronics Representative Association, the EIA, when we talked about leadership feedback. Do you get feedback as a leader? Or is it like between the lines, how you learn the feedback?
I think it's a great question. I think you can ask for feedback.
Yeah.
I think you get, and sometimes people might think you want to hear what you want to hear.
Yeah.
I think you get feedback every day. I think you can sense feedback. You can sense when people are beginning to do things. But a lot of times, if you ask, not how am I doing, but you can sense in a meeting or just one-on-one conversations, you can sense people getting stronger and more confident. And I think that's the sign of any good leader is to lead people, but it really let them lead themselves, instill in them the confidence to do the job without having you tell them what to do. And you can sense that once people go from a doer to a delegator to a leader, that's a big transition to go from a doer to a delegator. Some people struggle with letting go. And I think that, leaders lead and leaders teach.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also important to, just because maybe if I just say me, right, I have like going from A to B, right? And this is the way I will go and solve this task or this project. Right. There's other ways, right, to go from go to A to B. And I think as a leader, it's important to just go back and saying, hey, that's, I hired, or this is my team and these are my expert, right? And if you want to grow, you need to let go as well as a leader.
100%. You need to be able to listen.
Yeah.
And you don't have all the right ideas, and listen, and to be able to accept people on your team that maybe have a better idea.
Yeah.
And embrace that, and not be feel like you're being undermined, or gee, I'm not a leader. I'm doing what they want me to do. It shows confidence in yourself and certainly confidence in them.
Yeah.
And that's something that leaders should be
leaders
doing.
should do. I have a project where I wanted to do one thing, right? And then that was just not technical possible right now because of resources and everything else. So the no, right? Or the store is closed is not an option. My brain is like, okay, how do I, what solution do I have? Brainstorming. And I'm like, oh, we can do it this way instead, right? So then I'm like making some curbs from my A to B, but I created some more ways to say, how can we get there, but just in a different way. So I think that's important too.
How do any of us feel like what you just said, Sandra? If you have something you're suggesting is a better way of doing things and you get shut down, you immediately think of that person is not a leader. That person is an authoritarian supervisor, and that will stifle your own growth and frankly cause a huge morale issue with you. And that, why don't they listen to me? I can do this. And my idea was just shot down because he or she thinks they have the better idea because they're the leader. You can sense it. You can't fake leadership, Santa.
No.
You can't fake it.
No, I agree. Check out what Don Akery, he's the Chief Executive Officer at Waldom Electronics, when I asked him about leadership feedback. So it's already tied in a little bit here, but I wanted to ask you as well, what is your personal values that guides your leadership style?
Well, it starts, and it's been this way, again, I've been asked, I'll say that type question for a lot of years.
Yeah.
I look at it, number one, I try not to ask anything of anybody that I'm not willing to do myself.
Yeah.
And it's a cliche, but lead by example. So, if it's, if we want people to be back in the office a little more, after COVID, it's like, okay, then I need to be in the office more.
Yeah.
And I need to lead by example and be there and, and do what it takes in order to show them that, hey, look, I'm not asking them to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's a basis of my, I'll say leadership style. It starts there.
Yeah.
I also believe in giving very direct feedback and direct with respect. But I found early in my career, I had a tendency to try to, I'm going to use the term sugarcoat, feedback, all right, and paint a picture, and it made things worse.
Yeah.
So now I'm very direct.
Yeah.
And again, I try not to do it in a disrespectful, it's not personal. It's, hey, this is not working, or it's not working as well as we would like. Yeah. And here's my feedback. Here's what I think, and that seems to, I'll say, be appreciated by most, not everybody. It's a little startling when somebody's new that you work with. But I think, my leadership style, there's a transparency, I guess, is the word that's used more today.
Yeah.
But that clear, direct feedback. And then obviously the ethical aspect of it. In the business world, I think all of us and all of our companies expect us to operate with a high, ethics and decision making. But, I'm talking about things about, being honest all the time, even when it's bad news. And it's just, hey, nope, here's what it is. It goes back to giving that feedback. So I think those are the factors that I'll say influence the way that I lead.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, because with the whole leadership style, to be a good leader, to tell the truth, but also be open to accept, right, when somebody is telling you what's working, what's not working. And it's not easy, right, to not take it personal. Let's just be honest.
No, we're human.
Yeah, right?
We're human.
Yeah. But you have to you have to take it aside and saying, okay, it's not, it's not personal. And that's a skill set by itself, right?
Absolutely. I find myself a lot using the term, and I use it in a lot of presentations internal with the groups that I lead, and I put a pair of shoes up on the screen, with me, and it's like, okay, guy, I want you to try to look at it this way: put yourself in the other person's shoes. All right, and I will go in and try, and again, that's a good way for me to understand that perspective and understand a disconnect, especially when it comes to communication. But I'm just trying to think back of the things that I hear myself saying when I'm in meetings with my team. It doesn't matter which job, which company I work for. The whole, hey, let's trade shoes here. Let me look at it from your perspective. You look at it from mine.
What about silent feedback? Listen what Shane Zutz said. He's the vice president at human resources at DigiKey. What do you do about the one where it's like the silent feedback?
Yeah, so those are a little more difficult, and I've experienced that as a leader. Like, I'm sure the people will listen. Yeah. And so then I think the key is, do you just jump right in, or do you try to walk around that a little bit to try to understand more deeply? I think sometimes leaders get solution oriented. Well, hey, why were you so quiet in your one-on-one? Why did you not expound on that? But how do you do that in a soft manner that kind of slowly gets at maybe the root issue, which may be with multiple different questions. It could be changing the environment. It could be taking them out for lunch, having a cup of coffee. It could be you extending a level of transparency and vulnerability as well, and showing that your human side will hopefully break down those barriers, for them. If it goes on extended, though, I think your role as a leader is to kind of, address that more directly and say, I want to know how I can best help, because I feel like in our one-on-ones, we're potentially not connecting, or we're not getting at the root or core issues on some of the things. So first of all, I want to know if there's anything that I'm doing that is impeding that progress, and you need to own it first. You can't just shove it over to the individual that you're working with, because I don't think that's really fair to them at all. But how do you then ask those questions and really own from your lens with them? How can you help that out?
Yeah, I like that. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Leadership in Manufacturing podcast. I love that you're listening. Please find us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, and be sure to subscribe and rate us. Also, follow our LinkedIn page and Instagram, and check out leadershipinmanufacturing.com for previous episodes, blog posts, and our newsletter. So let's continue this journey together to become better leaders in the electronics industry. Remember, stay curious, keep learning. See you next time.